Have you been hanging out with Meghan and Harry since they've been in California?
No, I don't know them.
What do you think of them?
I admire Harry for going to Afghanistan. Anybody who's had military service, I can only criticize so much because I haven't. And there's nothing that compares to military service.
Viewer discretion isn't just a warning. Today, it's a necessity. What you're about to hear isn't just another royal scandal. It's a scorched earth media crusade fueled by betrayal, obsession, and one of the most relentless campaigns against a royal couple in modern memory. At the center, Piers Morgan, the man who turned a ghosted text from Meghan Markle into a global reckoning. This isn't gossip. This is media warfare.
Have you talked to Meghan since?
I have not.
Do you think you should interview her?
Let's get them both in front of a camera. I have a few supplementary questions. First question would be, so let me get this straight. The royal family were racist about the skin color of your unborn baby. This is what you said to Oprah Winfrey. And they also were so disgustingly callous.
It started like a rallying cry, and Piers Morgan never let it go. Night after night, he sat behind his desk, fists clenched, voice rising, demanding the same thing. King Charles must strip Harry and Meghan of every last royal title. Not tomorrow, not politely. Now, he called it a matter of patriotic duty, not pettiness, not ratings, not revenge, but preservation of crown, country, and credibility. He warned that if the monarchy stayed silent, the institution would rot from the inside out. And while critics called it clickbait, the phrase caught fire. Strip them, lock the gates, cast them out.
You can't defend them anymore. You know, Harry, I defended him all along, said, look, he's protected his country, he served his country, he should go off like they wanted to, go off and live their life outside of the media, outside of the limelight.
With privacy, away from the media.
And I completely respected that. I thought to myself, do you know what? The man served his country, let him get away if that's
But they
what he
didn't
wants.
mean it.
A soundbite that echoed across social media, morning shows, and even Parliament. But that was just the beginning. Because next it got personal. Scient gossip. This is media warfare. What turned this into something more than a professional critique? One moment, one dinner, one unanswered message. Piers Morgan tells it like a wound that never healed. Meghan Markle, before the Duchess title, before the Netflix deals, went out with him for drinks. They talked. They connected. He thought it was the start of a friendship, or maybe more. But the next day, silence. Nothing. Ghosted. And then, just hours later, she was photographed on her first date with Prince Harry. That emotional cut fueled everything that came after.
Harry has never met his father-in-law to this day. He's not allowed Thomas Markle to meet his grandkids. And yet the first sign of any disaster, mass shooting, any opportunity where they can go and pretend to be comforters in chief when they're not even asked for or required or needed.
To Piers, it wasn't just ghosting. It was a preview. A sign of how Meghan discards people when they're no longer useful. And whether that's fair or not, he's repeated the story for years. But ghosting was just the spark. The inferno came when Netflix entered the picture. To Morgan, the Sussex media empire isn't built on service or storytelling. It's built on pain. Pain packaged, sold, and streamed for 9-figure paychecks. He mocked every element of their Netflix series. The dramatic violin music, the teary confessions, the soft focus shots of Montecito lawns.
Well, good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Today, Harry and Meghan torched what little was left of their relationship with the royal family and what little was left, frankly, of their own reputations. Last week was mostly sycophantic. This latest instalment was downright seditious.
Every beat, he claimed, was carefully choreographed for maximum monetization. And when the book Spare landed, with reports of a record-breaking memoir advance, he didn't see bravery. He saw branding. Even Harry's appearances became ammunition. Morgan pointed out that when the prince talked mental health at a polo match, social media barely blinked. But when he exposed royal family drama, trending worldwide.
Well, Harry and Meghan's Netflix series, released to the world this morning, is packed with, well, not really revelations, are they? It's sort of rehashed old revelations with a new twist. As it turns out, we've apparently been wrong all along. Britain is a nasty, racist hellhole. We're only magnificent Meghan.
According to Morgan, the message was clear. The more trauma you sell, the more money you make. But what truly sent him over the edge wasn't the money, it was the memory. This is where Morgan's fury took a darker, more emotional turn. Because for him, there's one figure who should remain untouched: Princess Diana. When the Netflix docuseries used blurred paparazzi shots of Diana, when they replayed footage of her funeral, when violins swelled over Harry's grief, Piers exploded. He accused the Sussexes of exploiting her legacy, of dragging Diana's ghost into the spotlight to shield themselves from criticism.
And the world's biggest victims are not the people of Ukraine or the people battling COVID or people struggling in a devastating cost of living crisis. No, the world's biggest victims right now are the Duke and Duchess of Netflix. And don't take my word for it.
He reminded viewers that he'd met Diana, interviewed her friends, watched her funeral in silence. And now, he said, her memory was being used like a marketing tool. He called it grotesque, a betrayal, and one the monarchy couldn't afford to ignore. But just as emotions reached a fever pitch, Morgan shifted to another battleground, one just as sensitive. The Oprah interview still hovers like a storm cloud over the royal family. And Morgan, he's been dissecting it piece by piece for years. First came the race allegation. Harry and Meghan claimed a senior royal questioned their baby's skin color, but no name, no proof. And later, Harry seemed to walk it back, suggesting unconscious bias rather than overt racism. To Morgan, that was the ultimate red flag. Either say it clearly or don't say it at all, because vague accusations do lasting damage. Then came the mental health bombshell.
This promise of once you're married, don't worry, it'll get better. Once they get used to you, it'll get better. Of course it'll get better.
Meghan revealed she'd struggled with suicidal thoughts and claimed the palace refused to help. Morgan didn't just challenge the claim, he scoffed at it. He asked why Harry, a mental health advocate, didn't get private care. He questioned the logistics, and he demanded proof. The backlash was immediate. Mental health charities warn that doubting these stories could silence people in real crisis. But Morgan didn't back down. He argued that falsehoods can do just as much harm as silence. It was a moral standoff. And for Morgan, the only answer was radical transparency. Show the emails, show the meetings, or stop making headlines. And as this war of narratives escalated, something strange began happening behind palace walls. No headlines, no speeches, just silence. That's how King Charles began his response, according to Morgan. Quietly, Frogmore Cottage was reclaimed. Invitations to royal events stopped arriving, and most notably, Harry's name started disappearing from official palace rolls. To the public, these might seem like coincidences, but to Morgan, they're signals. Signals that the monarchy is moving behind the scenes, rewriting the rules, preparing for something bigger. He called it velvet exile, a phrase that captured the strategy perfectly. No guillotine, just absence, just distance, just cold, calculated detachment. But Morgan wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. For Morgan, the endgame is clear. Strip the Duke and Duchess titles, remove the last thread of royal connection, and end what he calls the grift loop once and for all.
But truth be told, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how good I was, no matter what I did, they were still going to find a way to destroy me.
He imagines the scene. A palace statement at 5 p.m. Titles rescinded. Styles retired. Harry and Meghan, from that day forward, referred to simply as Mr. and Mrs. Mountbatten Windsor. He says it would send a message through history. That the crown bends for no one, not even blood. Legal experts warn it's complicated, that it could spark lawsuits or martyrdom. But Morgan shrugs. They're already martyrs, he says. At least this way, the branding dies. And if Charles does it? Morgan says he'll open champagne and start his next crusade. Maybe those sealed palace bullying reports. Maybe the Sussex financial filings. Because to him, this isn't about winning. It's about accountability. And he's not done. So here we are. The polls have cratered. The public is restless. Parliament is murmuring. And Morgan? He's pounding the table, night after night, daring King Charles to act. He points to late-night comedians mocking Harry's Netflix appearances. TikTok videos counting every time Meghan mentions herself. Even once-loyal news outlets publishing brutal critiques. He says the cultural tide has turned, that the public no longer sees victims, but performers. And yet, the monarchy waits, slowly, deliberately, watching. So the question hangs, unresolved. Will King Charles cut the final thread? Will Piers Morgan finally get the moment he's chased for years? And if he does, will the story finally end? Or will it ignite something even bigger? Let us know in the comments. Because this saga isn't slowing down. Not even close.